Students, unilateral contracts. Question here, and this came up in the quiz, is do you need to even know that an offer is in existence? I'm not going to spend enough time talking about unilateral contracts differently. So the case here is the Crown and Clarke, R.B. Clarke. I can't remember if I've got a slide with the facts on it, but I'll go past it. So the Crown and Clarke is a case where there was a gentleman who was assisting the police with their inquiries about a matter, and the police thought that perhaps he was a known associate of somebody who they thought might have committed a murder. And they said to this gentleman who was assisting them with their inquiries in relation to a burglary that he may or may not have been involved in, that if he were to give them, Mr. Clarke this is, were to give them some information about this person they were looking for the murder, that the charges that were being brought against him in relation to the burglary might be somewhat smaller. So Mr. Clarke did assist them with their inquiries about that matter, and ultimately somebody was brought before the justice in relation to the murder, based on the information that Mr. Clarke provided. Around that time, Mr. Clarke realised that there was a reward on offer for information leading to the arrest and conviction of his mate, the murderer. So he put up his hand and said, "I would like you to pay me that reward." So the issue before the court was, this is a classic unilateral contract. The way that you accept this offer of the payment of a reward is by you giving us information leading to the arrest and conviction of a murderer. And in this particular case, Mr. Clarke did exactly that. But he didn't know about the reward offer. And ultimately, it was held that no contract was made. You can't accept an offer that you don't know about. So the High Court said, while an offeree's conduct is normally assessed by reference to external manifestations, performance of a requested act will not give rise to a unilateral contract if the evidence establishes that the offeree was not in fact acting on faith of the offer, that they were not acting on reliance of that offer. He was acting, he shared that information, really in reliance on the promise that he would get a lesser charge on the burglary. Justice Isaac said, acceptance is essential to contractual obligation because without it there is no agreement. And in the absence of agreement, actual or imputed, there is no contract. It's kind of the opposite when it's written down, when you think about it. It doesn't matter whether there's an agreement because it's written down and you've signed it. So it does get a little bit tricky. Justice Higgins said, although Clarke's act fulfilled the conditions contained in the reward offer, that would only raise a presumption. Presumption is like a very strong assumption, that he did act on it. But by his own express admission, he did not. So, no contract. Unless a person performs the conditions of the offer, acting upon its faith or reliance upon it, he does not accept the offer, and the offeror is not bound to him. Clarke himself made statements which showed that he didn't act on the faith of or in reliance. So we think about this again when we get to consideration next week. There needed to be that link. So if you don't know about an offer, you can't accept it. Though I suspect that people accept offers that they don't know about all the time and nothing happens. When you think about competitions, for example, if all you had to do was buy 2 chocolate bars and then return the wrappers to get a prize, if you don't know about that offer, actually I'm thinking how would you return the chocolate bars, but somebody else finds the wrappers, you don't have to buy the wrapper, you can grab the wrapper out of the bin somewhere, so you probably wouldn't do that in a COVID-19 emergency situation. Nobody needs to know that you didn't know about it at that time, or that the person, that the person who bought the chocolate wrappers didn't know.